What is up? Doug with D&E in the garage. I've been having a heck of a time with this alternator in my Jeep. If you didn't see my short the other day, about every 20 minutes of driving, my voltage gauge will dip down under 12. I'll have to get out, take my hickory stick and give her a couple, come on now, come around, a couple love taps to convince her, and that'll bring it around. Now, if you don't know, tapping an alternator like that when it's not producing the proper voltage sometimes will jostle things around, whether there's carbon built up on the brushes or the tolerance in the brushes is too extreme. But giving it the whack, much like a starter. You ever had a starter that won't work? You go under there with a hammer and you give it a jimmy jammer a couple of times. Anyway, that's getting real annoying. And on top of that, the other day I missed. I hit my torque box here and I put a giant hole in it. So after this video, I've actually had a cold air intake for this Jeep for a while, but that's another story for another day. We're going to deal with this. Today, we're removing this alternator. We're going to talk about the upgrade options because I plow with this Jeep and my snow plow is winch driven, which means it's an electric system, and this alternator was not up to the task. Now, if you're running a lot of off-road lights or a big winch or a sound system amps, you may also want to upgrade. These 4.7s, depending on what they put them in. They came in the Grand Cherokees, they came in the Dakotas, they came in the Durangos, they came in the Chrysler Aspen. Most of them came with a 136 amp alternator. That's this guy right here. My understanding is some of the Dakotas even came with a 117 amp alternator. Who comes up with a 117 amp alternator? Why is that the number you chose? But I found a super easy, inexpensive way to switch to a 160 amp, which for me is going to absolutely protect my battery, because that's what's going to get beat up. If you're using amps, off-road lights, winches, whatever have you, and your alternator's not pushing enough juice, you're going to be beating up your battery. The whole system's not going to last as long as it should. Without further ado, let's rip this dirty old POS out of here, get her on the bench, and we'll talk about what alternators work in what vehicles. Now, if you don't know, to get these alternators off, it's actually super easy. There's a 15 mil tensioner down over here. I'm not going to bother readjusting the camera, but you use that to take some tension off of the lay belt. Okay, ouch. And there you go. Once your belt's out of the way, it's just 15 mils all around. So, nope, that's definitely not a 15 mil. That one is. I tell you, life is hard and harder if you're stupid. I could have sworn they were all 15s. All right, let's get the proper tool for that job. Now, like I was saying, one of the things you can do, wow, this is really in there. One of the things you can do with a dying alternator to get you home is give it a couple love taps. A symptom of a bad alternator is the first thing you'll notice, your dash lights start getting dim, maybe your headlights get dim, maybe you start getting a bunch of random warning lights. That's another symptom of a bad alternator. Wow, that was cross-threaded. Whatever monkey with a toolbox worked on this last really screwed up. I'm gonna be pissed when I find that guy. Like I said, your electronic systems basically start to dim and then fail. Speaking of dimming lights, anybody else seeing that? Lights in my garage are dimming. We're haunted, I tell you. And then shortly after that, things will stop working, and eventually, you're just running on your battery. So if you use up all the juice in your battery, well, now you're walking home. So if your alternator starts giving you grief, I highly recommend you address it. Maybe give it a couple love taps. You know, a lot of people say not to do that because you might break something, but the darn thing's already broken. I'm trying to get home. And the reality is, I actually lived that way for about a week. It started going sometime last week. I didn't have time. I actually went to Vegas last weekend. So I just, you know, when it started not charging up to about 14, come out and, come on now, come around, but don't miss because you'll break your stupid box. And now my Jeep's just sucking unfiltered air. I'm sure that's great for it. This one's got to be like a 14, I guess. Whoops, sorry folks. Though to be fair, if you weren't in my way, I wouldn't have hit you with my elbow. Okay. Now, basically what this swap involves is taking an alternator from a 4.7 that is meant for a vehicle that got a higher amp output from the factory. Good examples of this are going to be your Dodge pickup trucks. that were intended for heavier duty use. Any of them that had the snow plow package are gonna have an upgraded alternator. So all I had to do was go on Rock Auto and start comparing part numbers, and I was able to figure out, again, we're gonna go over to the bench in a minute, figure out which one we needed. Now, another symptom of a alternator that's on its way out is squeaking or grinding in this wheel. You may or may not be able to hear it. You can just barely hear that little bit of squeaking. Now, I was hearing that when the Jeep was running. It sounded like a belt squeak, but on top of that, that's a sign that something inside is out of spec. You can also kind of hear a racing noise. That's the bearing. The bearing's a shot in this. If I recall, this may have either been a junkyard one. It's a Denso, so it's not OEM. Anyway, your next step after removing those three, you got to remove this guy. It's a 13, but I highly recommend you remove the battery cables. Hey, who tightened my battery cables down? If I find that guy. All right, so once your battery is disconnected, and that's not something I do for every project, but honestly, something like this, good idea. Disconnect this bad boy, and then you should be able to just walk the whole alternator out of its spot. Oh, that's great. Oh, I lost that nut. Now the thing that's holding your alternator in place is the tension between these two ears on this piece of aluminum there. So what you can do, take a pry bar or screwdriver and just nice and gently, remember you're prying everything you're prying on down there is aluminum, but it'll work its way right out of there. And then you got to be careful because it's still connected in the back. Okay, you see this right there? That is your connector. Boom, that looks ugly. We're gonna have to clean that. Looks burnt. Whatever. All right, there you go. Here is our faulty alternator. You can hear that squeaking now. Yeah, that's not how that's supposed to sound. Now, here's something else interesting. The problem most of y'all are not going to have. You see all this black? Looks like it could be oil or something. It's not. I had my belt ran incorrectly for a while. Instead of going like this, I don't even remember what the hell I did, but somehow it was straight across the top. One of y'all actually told me, like, hey, idiot, your belt is run wrong. So anyway, it was shredding because it wasn't making enough contact with the AC pulley and the alternator, so it shredded that belt. So this is bit of belt. I kind of feel like that's why this alternator went out. Obviously, I fixed it as soon as I realized it was happening. You can see in there, that's all rubber and crap. So let's take this over to the bench and see, is the new one going to fit? Spoiler alert, yes, because I wouldn't bother starting the video if I wasn't sure yet. Alrighty friends, here is the new alternator I bought. This was from a 2002 Dodge Durango, obviously with the 4.7. I don't know what options that Durango would have had to come with, but if you go on Rock Auto and you look at a 2002, it lists a 160 as a possibility. It was $118 from Rock Auto with a $30 core. It was actually less expensive than the 136, which I assume is just a demand thing because most people are buying the 136. I don't know. But here is our original alternator. Now, first thing you'll notice, these ears look like they match up perfect. All right, the lug pretty much matches up perfect. The mounting points over here, they match up. So that's what I looked at when I was looking online. I was like, all right, I'll risk it. Let's buy the darn thing. Now, I went online on the forums, and a lot of people suggest you have to use one from a 2006. I don't know why that would be. I double checked. These are both regulated the same way, so there's really no reason. The 4.7 is the same. I don't know, we're gonna give her a shot. The last thing you have to look at here is this connector, and they're the same. So I have no reason to believe, I mean, you can see they're very, very similar is the point I'm getting at here. I say we just throw her in. What do you say? So if you watched our video on the 4.7, or excuse me, so if you watched our video on the 4-liter alternator upgrade, you know we had to do things with the pigtail, we had to change stuff. I don't think that's a thing here because this is the same. So let's just go throw this in and we'll see if it charges. If it charges and doesn't burn the truck down, that's a win. If it does burn the truck down, that's less of a win. All right, friends, let's check the volts on this battery with it off beforehand. And we're looking at 11.7. I don't know if you can see that, but take my word for it. And the purpose there is that now we'll be able to tell if it's charging or not. If it's more than 11.7, it's charging, or this battery is magic. Let's see. To quote everyone's favorite uncle, contact. Where are my keys? There they are. Ta-da! 13.6. I was never good at math, but I'm pretty sure 13.9. 13.9 is more than 11.7. So that's charging. I don't really know what else to say about it. That's what we set out to do. Mission accomplished. Go watch a different video now. I'll tell you what, Buck. That's easy right there. The direct swap, which is a beautiful thing. Unlike our last one, with the one for the 4-liter, you have to modify it a bit, but it's not hard. It's still worth it. Watch that video if you have a 4-liter and you're trying to get more juice. I can't stress enough, if you are running extra electrical equipment, amps, speakers, lights, winch especially, winch kills batteries, kills them. Because there's so much juice you're running through there. You'll actually notice when I hit my winch, my whole motor shudders, the lights dim. I mean, it was really very jarring, and that's because they put a 136 in, because everything that was included on this Jeep could be serviced by a 136 amp alternator, but I changed that. I got lights, and again, the winch for the plow is the big thing, so super easy swap. I'd be more than happy to help you if you got any questions, but if you have a Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep 4.7 liter, and you have either the 136 or the, I guess Rock Auto sells a 117 for Dakotas from this year. It doesn't really make any sense to me. Like, just put the 136 in. I don't know. If you have a 117, I'd be interested to know if you've confirmed you have one out of the old factory there. That's really all there is to it. If you got a question, by all means leave me a comment down there in the squawk boxes. I will do everything in my power to help you. I'll leave a link to this bad boy. It's a Pure Energy. Super duper not a sponsor. Though if you want to sponsor me, paid $118. So Pure Energy, yeah, Pure Energy, if you want to sponsor this video, send me $118 and I'll paint Pure Energy on the side of my Jeep. That's how little I care, and what I'll do for, or how little money it takes to get me to do so. I don't know, it doesn't matter. So if you like the video, that's just common sense. Subscribe to the channel. Maybe go check out our website, monkeywithatoolbox.com. Certainly subscribe if you want to see me fix this hole. I'm telling you right now how I'm fixing it. Eric gave me a K&N cold air intake for this thing a long time ago, and I never put it on, but this hole here gives it that nice little cold air intake growl. Terrible for miles per gallon, because at every stop sign I'm just putting my heel into the thing because I want to hear bop, 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 bop. The 4.7 is one of the quietest V8s, maybe because it's small. You pull up behind a Chevy with one of them 5.3s, they're louder than hell. I guess that's because they're all chopping muffled. I don't know, whatever. I'm a loud, obnoxious American. I like my vehicle to be loud and obnoxious too. So, stay tuned for that. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.